What's up, guys? It's your boy Juju, aka Battleface TV. We are back with another video. Today we're going to be ranking the best decks post burst protocol, post ban lists. Just getting ready for the 300th. With that, let's get right into it. We got YCS winner. These are decks that I believe could win the YCS or have a very good chance of winning the YCS. Then you have top 8. These are decks that are guaranteed to get into that top 8 section. Decks that are very strong but have some clear weaknesses. Then you have top 16 to top 32. These are decks that can still top but not get like that top 8 playing, but they still like are good enough decks to where you can play them and you can still get a top with the deck. And then you have Rogue, and then you have Don't Play These. So with that, let's get into it. Obviously, first you got Blue Eyes. Blue Eyes hasn't really gotten any support recently. This deck has its problems. It plays a massive amount of bricks. I think this deck can sit in Rogue. It's you definitely can play this at like a regional and find success with it. I know Prophecy Wiz has been playing this deck consistently, and he's always done well with it at regionals. I believe he's like number 1 in points, world's points right now. I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that. Branded, I think you will find at least one branded in top 16 to 32. This deck is very good with the new support of following the White Dragon and the Ecclesia Synchro. I think this is going to turn into more of a branded Synchro deck rather than like just a pure branded deck with like 60 cards. This is going to be like a solid 45 to 50 cards. Some deck could play hand traps, some could play board breakers. Again, depends on how you want to build it. I know Nightfall's been trying to cook up some goo with this deck, so I'm always going to be watching him. But I think this is going to be a very good chance to like get that top 16, top 32. This is a pure Christian Horus. This is the Steven Santoli special. A lot of people are not, in my testing, I've seen a lot of people are playing Perulias in their side, and Horus just invalidates that because they summon from the graveyard. Plus, Imseti pitching Smyger to be able to get both engines rolling is absolutely insane. Or Imseti pitching another card against Zombie Vampire to mill your Smyger or mill your Sulfador. That's just free advantage right there. And I think this is also, I'm going to put this at the bottom of top 16. This deck clearly does still have some of its problems. Lancia still does hurt you a lot. I think Meows is going to make a little bit of a comeback, but people will realize it's bad. Yeah, but Christian K9, now this, I was very excited. So Christian got inclusion to 3, which is very good for the pure deck. But the K9 deck did lose 2 Joko 2 case. So people would think, oh, you just replace it with chaotic elements and you play you play 2 more inclusion. But the deck suffers from not having enough level 5s in your deck to be able to make the Noroi combo work. I still think this is a highly consistent deck. Can still put up some good boards. Has room for non-engine. I think this will see at least one top 8. Like, there will be one person who just like, if there's one person I've learned to never doubt when it comes to Christian K9, it's Yassine. The dude is really good with the deck. He knows what he's doing, and I think I think he probably isn't going to be the only person in top 8 Richmond with this event. Draco Tail. This is the best deck in the room. Come on now. Draco Tail took minimal hits. They lost 2 Malulu, 2 Ketu, but they can now slot in 2 Fallen on the White Dragon, 1 regular Albaz, and 2 Ecclesia and call it a day. This deck is highly consistent. You can play with both portions of your deck. You can even play Magistus cards, which I think is low-key the underrated sleeper version of the deck. While it does have its problems, I think the Magistus version is still very, very good. Elven Notes. This is most likely Elven Notes Pure or Fiendsmith. This deck definitely has its problems. The lack of starters is very bad. And also, like, I feel like if you play your cards correctly, no matter what, if you're playing any of these decks, you should be able to beat Elven Notes Fiendsmith. I think this deck is like in the bottom of Rogue. The new support from Blazing Dominion does make this deck a meta contender. So if you're planning on playing Elven Notes for the foreseeable future, I do recommend you pick up this core now. It's going to get very expensive very quickly. Pure Fiendsmith. No. Don't play this. This deck is bad. In Aircraft. This is what I like to call a glorified stun deck. They either put up Zaborg and rip half your extra deck, or they put up Vanity's Fiend and you have no way to out it. In all opinions, I think this is a fine deck. Like this again, a lot of these decks are getting support in Blazing Dominion, and I think it is like this deck gets a lot better, and I think it has an actual game plan. Because like when Indiacraft was released, it was like kind of like a control deck, and then people were just like, oh, let's just toss in 3 Vanity's Fiend and call it a day. Yeah, I think this is like at the top of Rogue. I think this is still a very good deck, and if you know what you're doing, like Peeps did, he was so close to top 8ing, I believe it was Rosemont. But this is a deck that will get support. It's gonna get very good very quick. I don't know what this is. This is okay. So this is the K9 for Hire deck. This deck is very good. There are some slight problems. Jokal, in case getting hit to 1, makes this deck a little bit less fragile. But with the addition of the support that's getting in Burst Protocol, Rex Gale for Hire is an absolutely broken card. Like you can do your full combo and just like Durandal. If you like draw into Droll, you can just Durandal Droll your opponent and like put their whole hand back. And I think like that's funny. I think this is a good contender to at least. I think it's better than Branded because it does have the same problems with consistency. I know it did lose some starters, and I don't think any of the higher stuff can bridge you into the K9 stuff. But yeah, that's what I think about K9 for Hire. This deck is definitely on my radar to be looking out for and just make sure to prepare for. I would prepare for this deck. It's very, very scary if you don't know what you're doing. Gem Knight. This is an FTK. This deck in OTK. This is a modern day Tempai. This is a more fair Tempai because it has locks. It requires you to go through multiple steps. I'm gonna put this at the. I'm between the bottom of top 16 to 32 because the only player I've seen do well with this deck is Anthony Zhu, who from Nats has played this deck consistently and has done very well with it. But for now, I'm gonna put it at the top. I'm gonna put it right below Indiacraft. I think this deck is very good. This deck is a sleeper deck. Kill Tune. This deck is Rogue. It's definitely right here. Kill Tune. This deck is getting support again. A lot of these decks are getting support in Blazing Dominion. I keep bringing that up. But Kill Tune, it has a very defined game plan. And I think that's good for it. But at the same time, it does have a middling matchup in some of these decks, like Draco Tail, Krishan. Like, if you activate Clip in your hand and they just have the Zuno, you just get Giga punished. But yeah. I honestly think this is like right here. I think Branded, yeah, I think it's like right like this. Okay. Lunalite. Herald got banned. That's huge for the deck. Each and every ban list since Nats, I think Lunalite has only benefited, even though it's maybe a little bit. They still benefited from the deck, from the bans, and by their competitors getting lowered down. The big thing is people are now going to be prepared for this deck. They're going to be ready. They're just gonna see they know they have to have a double Liger out. It can happen and it will happen. Your double Liger will get outed. You have to have a backup plan in this deck. And if people are playing, I've seen a lot of people play this deck aggressively and on SP double Liger Baguska with no follow up. So when both their Ligers get outed, it's just rough. Yeah, I've done it before myself too, and I got destroyed. Shout out GGYGO. If you know, you know. But this deck will definitely top 8. I think it is better than K9 Krishan. This deck, once it gets going, it is unstoppable. Magnet Warriors? I don't even know what this deck does. Malice. This deck lost White Minder. I think Red Ransom would have been a better hit, but in testing, I think there are still combos you can do with White Minder to draw 4 without White Minder, sorry. I'm going to put this in top 16 to top 32 just because people are still going to be playing the deck. And again, Malice is very, very strong. If you let them go full combo, it is deadly. Memento. Another combo deck turns Anguish into SP Little Knight, Creation King, set 4, Mason Hand, pass. Uh, I don't know. This deck also sometimes folds to just like an Ash Blossom on Witch. Like, again, those are the type of hands you get. I think realistically, if you're like experienced with the deck, I would put it like right here or right here. But I'm gonna put it at the top of Rogue. I think this deck also hasn't gotten any like hits, and I think it benefits from other hits getting other cards getting taken down. So I think this is good. Mitsurugi Yumi, this deck is dead. Herald Band, Haba to 1, Snatchy to 1, this deck is dead. While we're talking about it, Yummy variants. I'm gonna put this I'm gonna put this in Rogue, because Yummy Tri Brigade, the Tri Brigade support, will allow you to mitigate like your snatchies. You have to actually play resource management. You just can't play with once. You just can't use one snatchy and like do nothing with it. And if it hurts a lot more when they go called by on your snatchy, like it's really bad. Pure Mitsu. This deck had consistency issues before with losing two Haba. I don't know. I think Pure Mitsu is like right here. I think it's below Malice. Just really, again, because Mitsurugi is Draco Tail's worst matchup because Murakumo makes them discard cards, and Draco Tail obviously needs cards in the hand to fusion summon. I think this is just like a rough matchup for Draco Tail. But the fact that Habakiri got hit to 1, and again, it's getting support with the new ritual monster that lets it copy the ritual spell. It's a whole lot. But I think this is a deck you should be keeping your eye out for. Again, if it's just that person's day, it's that person's day. You can't hate it. Odeon. This just became a actually fully fledged stun deck. They're playing like Lambdas. They're playing both Purge and Impulse. They're playing Driver. It's freaking wild. I'm gonna put this. I think it's better than Blue Eyes, but I don't think I can put it any higher. Orchist. Orchist Mitsu. It did get a buff with Dark Greffer coming to 3. And Dark Greffer is a starter because Orchist plays so many awkward cards like Nightmare, War Crown, Wand, and those bricks would benefit you just dumping them to the graveyard to dump Harp and then just go full combo. I think this is actually the sleeper pick for Richmond. I think this deck can top 8. Because this deck is very scary if you don't know what you're doing. Again, Dark Greffer is a phenomenal starter for this deck. It coming to 3 gives this deck more consistency. Because now you're playing 3 Harp, 3 Greffer, 3 Harp Horror. You're playing Rhoda, you're playing Foolish. Like, this deck has so many starters now. I think this is probably a top 8 deck. I think one person will at least top 8 with this deck. Radiant Typhoon, come on now. Radiant Typhoon, this deck is getting support. Featherstorm getting banned is actually really good because Corsia is a wing beast and everybody was siding Featherstorm in their side deck. I think this deck has a lot of potential. It has a really high ceiling, but the main problem is this deck struggles from consistency. In my testing, I haven't really gotten the most optimal hands. Like, you'll draw like Meghala with no way to trigger it. But again, you have a lot of quick play spells that you want to activate, and I think this is Draco Tail's worst matchup because MST on a back row is just like free. And like, you don't care if they flame it, it's like cool, now we just MST again. We trigger our Crosea, we trigger this, we trigger that. Like, come on now. It's just broken. Rescue Ace. They got a new Link 4 and a new monster. I don't know why it was a Link 4. I think this deck will be in Rogue. I think it's worse than Aircraft. It's definitely better than Gemini. I can't put it any higher than Rogue. I need to do more testing against this deck. Dragon Link. The new Rocket cards I've played against them. I think this is a decent deck. I think at least one. I don't think it's better than any of these, but I do think it is at the bottom of being able to get that top 16, top 32 spot. Razio. This is a rogue deck. I think this is the best rogue deck out there. Razio took massive hits, and it's still pumping around. People are still playing the Automat package with it. Just it has consistency. It has struggles from consistency. And like if you imperm their X, they have no way to follow up. They just like lose the game. Again, I know, crazy. Sky Striker. Droll the 2 is phenomenal for this deck. But this deck does have its matchup problems. It struggles into Lunalight. It struggles into Radiant Typhoon. If Draco Tail draws Urgula, it just struggles. Like, I think this deck, while it does have some phenomenal upside, I think this deck is still like a top 8 deck. I don't think it's better than any of these. So I'm going to put it in the top. I'm going to put it right below Malice in top 16 to 32. Just because this is a strong deck. If the pilot knows what they're doing, they manage the resources well, and this is a very grindy deck, I think it can outgrind some of the most grindy decks in the room. It struggles, obviously, again, it has its matchup issues in the Malice, in the Radiant Typhoon, into Lunalight, into Draco Tail, but it has its positive matchups too. Like, the Aircraft does nothing against this deck. Like, I think if your Striker might be a good pick. I'm going to be for real. And then obviously you have Vanquisol with 3 Stake, 3 Raisin, but they did lose Holy Sue, Joko, and Case. Now this just becomes a pure Vanquisol deck with a small Canine engine, or you can just play legitimately pure Vanquisol. This deck will definitely top. I think these two are the two defining decks of the format. We're no longer in this weird triangle format we were in with Draco Tail, VS K9, and Yummy. I think now it's like a wide open format, but like you have your top 10 defined, and then like everything else, like not everything else, but you know what I mean. I think Vanquisol, again, Holly Sue was just so broken, but now it becomes a lot more fair because it becomes more of a Vanquisol deck as opposed to a K9 deck, and I think that's where this deck was supposed to be from the beginning. And I think even pure Vanquisol has a shot because this deck can play a lot of hand traps. It can play Holly Sue, it can play Bestials, it can play DD Crow, it can play Ghost Bell, Ash, Fua. Like, it has a lot of potential. And I think this is gonna be, these are the 2 decks to beat in the format. And with that, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Once again, I will see you guys at the 300th in Richmond, and I will see you guys soon. Peace out.